Good afternoon and welcome to Purdue University and the CERIAS Computer Security Seminar. Our speaker today is Assistant Professor Senchun Zhu from Penn State University, the Department of Computer Science and Electrical Engineering. Is that right? Computer Science and Engineering. His topic is towards event secure unobservability. That's a hard word to say. And sensor networks.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. Okay, good evening, everyone. So this is a great honor to be here, in our very prestigious engineering school. Especially Penn State is also, one of them. So today, my topic will be on towards event source on observability in sensor networks. So this is a joint work with my collaborators, Yang, Mingshao, Buwen, Guohong. So in the beginning, let me first give some brief introduction to sensor networks, in case you don't know yet. So with the advance of this micromagnetic techniques, so now we have some small, tiny devices called sensors. So these sensors, they have this wireless communication capability, and they can self-organize into network. So basically, you can form multi-hop communication to a remote place. So this sensor, they can also monitor the environment. So so for example, this temperature, humidity, pressure, all these different types of sensors. And also you can see from this figure, this sensors now they are getting much cheaper, and also this the size is getting also smaller. So as a result, you can see these sensors, they form this multi-hop communication, and they can send data to the remote place, the base station in this scenario. So you can imagine there's some applications for this. One is especially military application, where you can use their sensors to monitor this battlefield and see if there's some some biological or chemical weapon, and also if there's a enemy tank passing by. So this kind of application. And also you can use that for environmental application, the fire, flood detection, or for health applications. Some of them you can see from this slide. Okay, so for this specific talk, I will be focusing on this problem. So in this case, you can see that there's a base station, and also there's some animals, and also there's hunters. So in this case, the sensors are used to monitor the environment and to report what it has detected. So in this case, if the sensor somehow knows that there's an elephant in nearby, it will send a message. In this case, right, here's the event type, which is the elephant, and also you have this location, right, the second part. So the location, and also you have the third part is the timestamp, like when you detect this elephant. So you send this information back to the base station, and this is a normal case. But for the hunter, it may leverage this information to trace back to the source to find where is the elephant, try to kill them somehow. So this is the problem setting. So we will be focusing on. And in the early another work in Southern Workshop 2004, they modeled this as the panda hunter problem. So in this case, the sensors will send back this, the panda is here, this kind of information to the base station. So this is the base station in this location. So the idea is something called phantom routing. So the idea is when you detect some events in this location, you will first send this event message in the surrounding area to a random walk, just randomly and walk from one location to another location. So once certain condition is met, then this is forwarded towards the base station. And the final step, when it is close to the base station, maybe 3 hops away from this base station, then you can do a flooding of this packet to this nearby location. So here you can see that this packet, once it reaches this area, then it's flooded in this area. So the attacker here, the hunter is assumed to be nearby to the base station. So now you want to, based on this monitor the traffic, the trace back to the source. So this is the model. So the hunter is is nearby this base station. Based on the received packets, they want to trace where's the source. And their idea is to use the phantom routing, so to confuse this hunter, because for the hunter to trace back to the source, every time you only can trace one hop. And from where you receive this one, then you go to that data location. So next time from that location, if you receive another packet, then you can go one step closer to a base station. So hopefully in this way you can catch the real source. So this is their idea of phantom routing. So in this case, their attack model is use local attack. Basically, this attack only has this one hop capability of you only know this message from the previous hop, from where you receive it. You don't know this other where it comes from multi hops away. So based on their paper, they said, okay, now if the attacker has this hearing capability of 3 hops, so then you can recover, trace back to the source with 97% of accuracy. So which means with more the capability of this attacker, you can hear a bigger range, then you can trace back to the source easily. So now how about a global attack? So global attack means in this case the attacker can know every message transmitted in the network. So in this case, you can think about this phantom routing scheme. It will not work because if the attacker knows every packet, right, so you of course know the source immediately. You don't have to do this hop by hop trace back. So this will not work. So our key observation is to achieve this source anonymity, or we call the event unobservability, under this global attack model. So we have to introduce dummy traffic. Think about this. If there's no dummy traffic, everything is real, right? So then whenever there's a packet transmitted in the network, originated from the network, there must be something going on there, right? So that's the very easy for the attacker to find the source. So now if we introduce dummy traffic, and we have to introduce dummy traffic to hide the real messages. So now the issue is if you have to use dummy traffic, so how do you generate dummy traffic? And another issue is how do you forward them? If you forward them, all of them to base station, then there will be big overhead. So that's the focus of this talk, to answer these 2 questions. Please feel free to ask if you have any questions. Okay, so the first part of our contribution is we provide something called a statistically strong event source unobservability under a global attack model. So this solves the first problem, how to generate this dummy traffic in every sensor. And the second part, we propose some optimization techniques to minimize the network traffic. So in this way, you can filter out this dummy traffic on their way to base station. So the one simple solution for dummy traffic generation is just use constant rate. So every sensor transmits, like for example, 1 packet per second, or 1 packet per minute. Right? So if you always force this rule, then for attacker point of view, it will not know anything, right? Because the network always behave the same way. Even there's a real events packet and or dummy traffic, if you follow this way. And you can see that this is a perfect privacy can achieve, but in reality it's very hard to set this appropriate rate. So what should be the rate for this dummy traffic generation? But if the real message transmission rate is too high, then you have lots of packets and queued up in the local buffer. And also another issue is it has the fixed average latency. So basically, if you think about it, it's like if you transmit 1 packet every 1 second. So during this 1 second, this real event can arrive at any time. Right? So on average, the switching time is half of this interval. So in this case, it's half a minute, or half a second. Right? So it depends on the interval. So there's a little you can do, although it's perfect private. So what we propose is something called the fit probe rate. This is a better name, it's hard to pronounce. So basically here we want to use some probabilistic distribution to generate this inter-message intervals instead of constant rate. So in this way, we may provide some opportunity to reduce the transmission latency for the real message, because due to the statistical nature, probabilistic nature of this distribution, right? So some of this interval will be larger, some of the interval will be smaller. So now if you transmit this real event message, use this small interval. So then the attacker may not be able to notice this is if it's real or not. Right? It's a very simple idea. But the thing is, how do you really do that? So in this way, we can provide something called a statistically strong event unobservability. So what is this term means? So we give something more formal definition here. We call the alpha epsilon unobservability. So it's a kind of statistically strong event unobservability in which a distribution. So given this distribution of this this distribution is statistically indistinguishable from a probabilistic distribution. So which means you have two distributions. Use statistical testing, you cannot differentiate one from another. So if you do, so we will introduce some of the testing methods. Say, if they are like a exponential distribution. So in this case, you will see so this is the sample, right? This is the population. So they have both have this the same, supposedly they have the same distribution with the same mean. So this is the CDF of this distribution, and this is the CDF of this population distribution. So basically here you measure the difference between the CDF. Right? If they are very close, then it means they are the same distribution, the same curve in the PDF. And the second part is to measure this the parameter. So parameter here is if we use for example exponential distribution for one, and another is also exponential distribution. Their curve may be the same, but their mean could be different. Right? So you want to also make sure, in this case, not only the shape of this PDF is the same, similar. You also want to make sure this mean is also similar. So there's two parts we should control. So in our example here, we use so in this case we use the exponential distribution. So basically it says, okay, this mean, the one parameter is very close in this range, a small range of this in the real one. And we use two parameters, alpha to control this goodness of fit of the test to this specific distribution, and we use epsilon to control this closeness of this parameter to this from the data of the population. Okay, now once we have this concept about this statistically strong event unobservability, so now let's talk about how do we generate dummy traffic. So as I mentioned, you will want to use this probabilistic distribution to generate these time intervals for this events and the dummy or in the real. So in this way, you can in this way we assume this seed of this distribution. This random number generator is a secret, which means that every sensor has a seed to generate these intervals. So we use the exponential distribution because of these properties. One is the exponential distribution has this maximum entropy distribution among all these continuous distribution with the same mean. The second reason is because exponential distribution only has one parameter, because the mean and the variance is the standard deviation, is the same. So in this way, you only need to control one parameter, because otherwise, if you use a normal distribution, so then you have to make sure this mean and also the variance, they are not, both of them are very close to the data of the population, right? So you have more things to control. In our case here, we only need to control one parameter. We only need to test one parameter. So that's one of the reasons we choose exponential distribution to generate this time interval. Okay, so now if you use this distribution to generate this bogus message, But sometimes, when this real event also happens, you need to transmit them as well. Right? So in this case, what should be our policy? So the policy, we have these two considerations. The first one is the next time interval to transmit, and the earlier ones follow the same exponential distribution, which means when you determine the next time interval for the real event, after you add this interval to the original this time interval sequence, it's still exponential distribution, right? Because otherwise, attacker will know, right, this distribution has been changed. Then it can say, okay, there's a real event. And the second goal is we want to make this waiting time to distribute this next this message, which is in this case is the real event, as small as possible, because that's our goal, right? You want to reduce the delay for transmitting the real event. So another question is, how do we determine this waiting time? So we assume here attacker will perform statistical test to determine if this distribution is still exponential, and also to say if this mean is the same or similar to the one it's supposed to be. Right? Here we assume attacker knows we use exponential distribution. Attacker also knows the mean. But the only thing is unknown to attacker is the seed of this random number generator. So what we will do is whenever you generate the next time interval, the value, we will first, the sensor will first do some test. Here we use the Anderson-Darling test to test. See, after I add this value into this sequence, is this still exponential distribution? So in this case, you can start from a small value. Right? You will try it. See, if I add this small value to this sequence, if it's not, if it's much different from this original, the supposed distribution, then you will choose another one. So basically you can add do this iteration, right? You increase this step. So until you find the one which can meet this goal. So in this way, we will make sure if attacker will do the test, then they will still not be able to see this. And another issue is once you give this preference to this real event, so now the interval is become smaller, and you cannot do that every time, right? Because if you always do that, then this distribution will be skewed. Right? So you need to do recovery. So once you send this real event, so later on, the next time you will generate maybe a dummy traffic. So then you have to increase that interval. So in this case, you can make this the overall this mean will be still back to the original one. So we have to use this kind of sample mean recovery algorithm. So basically, in this case, we totally have 4 algorithms to control these numbers. So here is a running example. So suppose in the time point A, the sensor generated dummy traffic, and then the next one is in time B, and the next time is time E. So that's the planned one. But here, during this after time B, at the time C, that the real event occurred. So in this case, you want to find what is the next time you should deliver this message. So if you still follow this original plan, like you send this message at time E, then you don't get anything, you don't gain anything. But the good thing is here, we can actually find another value, which is in many cases you can find a value D here is small, very small. So here the CD is the delay for the real event. And from a attacker point of view, now when you observe this sequence, you will still say this is an exponential distribution. And of course, after you send this message, then you have to recover it, because if otherwise it will be, the mean will become smaller and smaller. So in this case, next time you will schedule another point at F. So this is a little bit bigger. So in this way, the mean will be recovered. And from attacker point of view, attacker will not see this C. Right? We assume attacker does not know C. Attacker will only see A, B, and D, and F. Right? These values are still very big. Right? So, So although from the source, you know this CD is very small, but for attacker point of view, you don't necessarily know this CD, this interval. You only need know this BD. Okay, so here we did some comparison with the constant rate scheme. So in this figure, the x-axis is the mean of this real event interval. So which means the real event generated, the mean is every 20 seconds there's one real event, and the average delay you can see from this for constant rate scheme. So here you can see this is so we assume here this dynamic traffic, this packet rate is in one. So here is let me see. The interval, average interval is 20 seconds. So in this case, for this constant rate scheme, so it's about the half of that, right? So 10 seconds. But in our case, because we give this adjust this distribution, this interval for the real event. So you can see this. So here, the delay for this real event now is becoming very small, less than 1 second. Okay, so this is a very small figure. So basically here, you may ask, okay, because this is just one event, right? One real message. If you have multiple messages, you need to transmit. For example, if you not just report this, this like a panda is here, you will report some additional information, like what is the panda is doing. So you may not be able to use one packet to hold all this information. You have multiple of them to send. So in this figure, you can see that we do different comparison. So the traffic pattern is for real event. This is one, another one. So the interval is big, but in this second traffic pattern, the real event pattern, so you have 3 packets sent in a row, and in this case you have 5 of them sent in a row. So you have more packets to send. So in this figure we show that there's another scheme called probable rate, which means you just use the exponential distribution, exactly follow this exponential distribution to determine next time interval. So you can see that this is the So this is the schedule the next time when you can send you should send this you can send this next message. So in this case, let me see, this is the real event, and this is the actual time when you send the next one. So you can see that in this case, the first real message is sent in this time, second one will be here, third is here, right? So actually the third one, this event occurred at this time, but now it's delayed to this point, right? So if you have the first one is occurred at this time, but the same time is here, right? So the delay is is big, according to just follow this exponential distribution. But in our case, because we use this, because we adjust this interval for real events, right? So we can see that this delay is very, very small. For the so this is a real the actual time, and this is the real event time. This is actual time. So in this case, the delay is not that big. But of course, here if you have more packets to send, real message to send, in sequence, then the delay will be larger and become larger and larger. But still, it's much better than this, this other scheme. And if you have more to send, like 5 packets to send, then it will become even larger. Because that's the part of the recovery. Because you cannot always give the preference to this real event, right? Because otherwise, you have many packets to send, it will be skewed. You have to recover them by adding increase this interval. So we are always, proactively doing this testing and increase the interval, so then make sure this mean is still within the range. So this is the figure show this average delay. So compare these 2 schemes, and our scheme is much better. And with of course the advantage of doing this will be will be less if you have more real message to send in sequence. And the security property, which is the alpha epsilon unobservability. This is based on definition is clear because we do this AD, the Enderlin-Darling test. So Enderlin-Darling test actually, based on the same idea to measure this distribution like the CDF. So because we already did this test when we send the next one, so it will automatically meet the requirement for the first requirement in this our definition of this unobservability, alpha epsilon unobservability, and because the mean is also always checked and also recovered, so it's also within that range controlled by epsilon. And then, so we think about this issue. We assume attacker will do the statistical test, but we cannot limit it. Attacker must use Darling test as we used. Attacker can use some other tools, right? So maybe you can do a KS test, right? That's also very well-known testing method. So in this way, so we assume attacker can do different. So here's the Darling test and also KS test. So there's a trade-off. We notice, this for attacker point of view, the false positive and false negative. You always there's the trade-off. For example, in this time point, this is when you do testing, right? You have the significance level you can control. So in this case, so this is the false positive for this two curves. These are the false negative. So you can see that if you want to have 0 false positive, then the false negative will be almost like 1. In this case, the KS test. And now if you can accept false positive more, then the false negative will also decrease. So that's the best attacker can do. You cannot decrease both of them. And we also did this mean test. So mean test here, the goal attacker is trying to see if the mean has been changed. But we use this something called a sequential probability ratio test. So in this test, it's kind of hypothesis test, but the difference is now you have you have 3 conditions. So it's like let me use this example instead. So you have in this case you have 2 alternatives. The first alternative is H0, which means now this the observed mean is larger than the population, or larger or equal to population mean. So in that case, you will not suspect that if there's a real event embedded there, because your goal is to reduce the time for the real events, right? So that there will if this observed the mean is larger than that, of course there's no event embedded, real event embedded. So you don't suspect that case. You only suspect that case when this observed interval is below the certain interval of this population mean. So this is attacker's parameter, the epsilon prime. Attacker can choose, because we cannot say, okay, we use this like alpha 0.05. Attacker must use that. Attacker can use different parameters. So basically, in this case, well, either it's larger than this or it's below this. So there's a range, right, which is uncertain for attacker. Right? Either it's between this this value and this value and this mu. So in this case, attacker will continue the test. So you will receive more samples, the data, right? So you observe this network, and once you have more data, you want to use that information to see if you can draw a conclusion. If not, then you keep collecting data. So this is the way the SPRT works. So it fits our scenario very well. So we assume that once we use this test, then so here's some of the results. We show that attacker can use its own, like let me see, the alpha prime and beta prime is the false positive and the false negative acceptable to attacker. And then the number of observations attacker will make, and this is the range you will consider. This is this determine the lower bound. So the result here shows that, okay, after the attacker has collected 2198 this events, the intervals. Now the attacker will make a decision, because either you accept it or you accept the H0 or H1, right? Otherwise you keep collecting more data. So the result here is in our test the attacker accepts the H0, which means the attacker say, okay, there's no event. Actually, in this test, we embed half of this real events into this sequence. Half of, in the time interval, we have this half of them are real, but the attacker can after collected so many these samples, decide to accept the H0. So this will cause the false positive. Of course, this is not necessary to be always the case, because in our test, attacker accept the H0, attacker may accept the H1, maybe it's possible. But here the result shows that, okay, it's not that easy for attacker to make a decision. Even in this case, even you make a decision, the decision is wrong. And the second figure, we just change this, now the alpha and beta, the false positive and false negative, so in other way. So basically, it also show the similar result. You have to collect many intervals, and your decision could still be wrong. Okay, so this is the first part of this presentation. We talk about how do you generate this dummy traffic in the source. So we have this scheme that use try to reduce the delay for the real message. And the second part is, now if you transmit this so many bogus message to the base station, and of course there will be a very high message overhead, and also of course the channel collision will be also the severe issue, right? Also, and the result is also very low throughput. And so ideally you want to drop as many dummy traffic as possible. But the thing is, if you do that, will that affect your privacy? Right? If you drop all this, for example, all this dummy traffic and only this real message exists, then of course attacker may gain some information on that. So there's some trade-off on this problem. So we will present this two schemes for doing filtering. The first one is called the proxy-based filtering scheme. So in this case, the proxy nodes, which are some of the regular sensor nodes, but they are selected as the proxy nodes. You will collect and filter the on route dummy traffic. And actually, I will give more details on this. And the second one is the tree-based filtering scheme. So you have multiple levels of the proxies, not just one level. So this is called tree-based filtering scheme. So okay, so now let's see some of the details. So in this case, you have this this message, right? So these are the real event message, and this is dummy, right? Sent to the base station. And so we want to introduce some nodes, and these nodes will collect this data packets from the other nodes. So in this way, you can drop these dummies as many as possible. So this is the high-level idea. But the question is, how many proxies are needed? And how to place these proxies to minimize the network traffic, right? Because their location matters, right? If you just put all these proxies here, right, all of them here, it does not really help. Right? If you have two, if the proxy number is very small, just one or two, maybe here or there, then it does not help much. If you have maybe many of them, maybe 100 of them, so may not be that effective, because every proxy will only take care of a very small number of surrounding nodes, right? When you do the filtering or the dummy traffic, and then you can only reduce a very small number of them. Right? So these are the two kind of issues we should ask. And the third one is, so what is the operation of this proxy node? Right? So the proxy, how the proxy deals with the message, and how do you forward the message? Because you are not just receive the message from this surrounding these sensors, right? You also forward them to the base station. So there's some issues here we should address. Okay, so we formalize that to answer the first question. We formalize this as it's an optimal proxy placement algorithm. So you want to determine how many these proxies you should deploy, and where you should deploy them. So the overhead is for every. So in this formula here, R source is the traffic rate from this this every sensor. And this is the second part is the minimum. So the distance is the distance from this from the source to the proxy, the nearest proxy. And once the proxy receives the traffic from the other nodes, you will also need to forward that to the base station, right? So this is the part is what is the traffic output rate from this proxy, and this is the number of hops from this proxy to the base station. So you want to minimize this overall cost, right? Because you have the first part to the proxy, and the second part is from proxy to the base station. So we want to minimize this value, and then we map this problem to this facility location problem. So it's kind of the similar issue, and which is an NP-hard problem. So then of course we need to come up with some heuristic. So our idea is the local search heuristic is kind of simple. So the basic idea is because you don't know how many proxy nodes you should deploy, so you just try the different numbers. And once you fix the number, for example here 40, right? Then you can randomly deploy them in the network. I mean, then you can do swapping, local swapping. See if you change the this one with another one, that will reduce this overhead more. So by doing that, you can reduce this. Find this for every k, which is the number of proxies. You always find this smallest overhead you can get, and then you change the key from 1 to the range. So in this example here, we show by running this algorithm, we can find out that this in this case it's you have about 17 proxies. When you 14 proxies, you can get the minimum network traffic. So which means you should deploy 14 proxies. And here's the result. So we the result from our heuristic. So these are the deployment points from our scheme. And this is the brute force, which means the global optimal. In that case, these are the global optimal case. So we'll see that this is not a big difference, very close to the optimal case. Okay, so once we select this, determine which sensor should be the proxy. So we should, for this proxy, they can also know that based on some protocol. So this proxy will broadcast the hello message to the nearby, the surrounding sensors, and every source will choose the closest one as its default proxy, based on how many hops you from this proxy. And then each source will send the encrypted bogus or real message, depends on the scenario. But you will encrypt this message, then with this exponential distribution interval, right, towards its proxy. Right, so the first part of the talk, right, so you use that interval, determine the interval for either the dummy or for the real message towards the proxy. And the proxy, once the proxy receive this encrypted message, you first decrypt that. So we assume this proxy and every node they can establish a secret key. So attacker does not know what is the content of the message. So once the proxy decrypts the message, then of course you know if it's a dummy or it's a true. Right? You can simply set a flag, right, that message. So you will drop this bogus message because it's useless, right? You just immediately drop it down. And for the real ones, you will re-encrypt these real ones and put them into the buffer. Because if you the incoming the input one and the output they are the same, you don't do any transformation of this packet, then attacker can easily trace, right? So which is the one coming in and which is going out. Right? So you need to re-encrypt the message with another key which is shared between the proxy and the base station. And so then after this constant time, so the proxy we use this strategy. The proxy will always send out a constant rate message. So in this way, because in the entire network, every source is performed the same way. The proxy is also performed the same way. But you always receive the message, you always output the rate is the same. Which means even you don't have the real message in the queue, in the buffer, you will send, in that case, you will send dummy traffic, encrypted dummy traffic. So in this case, they always perform the same. So we can achieve this event source unavailability. So here we did some analysis. So inside of this proxy, what is the behavior? We model this proxy, the buffer as MG1 queue. So basically, we assume this arrival to the proxy is post on arrival, and this the service time is general. So here you can think about this. If so what is the service time for this for this proxy to a message? What is the service time? So service time actually is there's two situations. But so if the packet, the real message, we talk about real message getting into the buffer. When you arrive, if the buffer is empty, which means this message will be delivered at the next time point. Right? So here we use constant rate of transmission. Right? So here the waiting time, the average waiting time is half of this interval. Right? The transmission, but the reverse of this, inverse of this constant rate. Right? So in that case, we consider this as a service time. Although you don't really do any processing, but it's virtually the same as the service time. But when this message arrives at the buffer is now there's some other real event there, but you cannot be delivered at this moment. So after a while, the packets move towards the head of this buffer. Right? So in that case, when you are served, you get into the processor or this proxy. The waiting time is exactly one time interval, right? Because once you're the last one, and you're the next one to serve, you have to wait for one interval to be delivered. So that's the time. So the reason we have model this service time. The average service time is one case is when you arrive at this buffer. The buffer is empty, and this is the average time. Average service time. And another case is when this buffer is not empty. So in this case, the service time is this interval for the buffer interval. And then we can derive this average sojourn time. Right? So when this real message arrives at this the proxy and when it is delivered, so you can calculate this the entire time. And we did some the simulation to validate this model. Seems very close to each other, and also we did some simulation to find what is the maximum queue size, the buffer size, because if you have too many real events in this buffer, then then what you should do. Right? So if it's already full, but you need to drop some of them. Right? So our question is what should we set as the buffer size? If we know the maximum size, then we can set appropriately the buffer size. Right? So then we will not drop the real events. Okay, so that's the part of the first scheme. And the second scheme is a simple extension of the first one. So now, our motivation here is, if you have multiple proxies and every proxy directly send this to base station, and you may still have lots of dummy message from the output of a proxy node, because you have to, even there's no real message, you still have to keep this constant rate. So our idea is, okay, why not we use the hierarchy? Right? So we have from one proxy the output to another proxy. So in that way, you may filter more dummy traffic. So this is the basic idea. And so in this way, you can reduce the network traffic, and but the others. Actually, let's see the overall performance here. So in this case, we showed we choose different number of proxies, and this is the traffic overhead. So this is the one we use the proxy-based scheme. Another one is here we have this two-level proxies, and this green one is when you have three-level proxies. So you can see this overall network traffic is becoming lower than the PFS scheme. It shows that this kind of hierarchical structure will help to filter the more dummy traffic. And of course, now you have more, because every new event you have to go through multiple proxies, and in every proxy there's a waiting time. Right? So the overall this waiting time will be larger. the latency will be larger. So this is a trade-off. So we should here use some simulation to evaluate these schemes and these other parameters. Let me see if okay. Okay, so we simulated two scenarios. One is the high rate real event case. Another is low rate. So basically, for the real event, we cannot control like what is the the actual rate. So we want to use the one case is very high rate and another is low rate. And this is the time interval for the proxy to send out the messages, and the buffer size here is 10. And this is the result under high rate real events. You can see here the first one is the baseline scheme, so which means you don't do any filtering. So every packet is forwarded to a base station. But here we don't do any reliability guarantee. So that's the effort delivery. So if the packet is lost, then it's lost. So I mean, so this is a fair comparison because it's not just for their scheme. For our cases, we don't also do any kind of reliability service. So you can see that in that case, the overhead in the baseline scheme is much higher than in our scheme. Here again, you can see here TFS2. Here you use the two levels. The two levels, you see the overhead is a little bit smaller even. And for the delivery ratio here, you can see that the baseline scheme is much lower than in our case. So here the x-axis is the mean for the bogus message transmission interval. So in every source you have this you have the mean for message transmission. So in this case, the reason it is in the baseline scheme is slower because of the congestion problem. Because of so many packets, once they are closer to the base station, congestion happens, so they are dropped. So in our case, because you have much less packets to send, so the delivery ratio is much higher. And here you can see this delay in our scheme. This is TFS2, right? So 2 levels, and the delay is highest. And this is the PFS, just one level proxy. So it's in middle. And in the baseline scheme now, so it's doing better. The delay is lower than in our case. If you can see this, because every node just forward this, try best to forward this, receive the message, right, as soon as possible. But again, here I should point out this, because it's a trade-off. Right? So now if you do this way, you have more packets to send, and the packet delivery ratio will be lower, and also the overhead is also larger. And we also did a simulation for low rate low event case, so the result is similar. Okay, so this is the conclusion of this talk, and I described these two techniques. One is to provide statistically strong source anonymity for dummy traffic generation, and also we have the optimization schemes to try to find the number of proxies and where to place them to try to drop more dummy traffic. And in future work, we also consider key anonymity scheme and the hiding distribution. So the point here is that for our first scheme, in the first scheme, the performance of the first scheme actually will reduce if you have many packets to send, well, many real events to send. But if there's just one real event to send, then you can perfectly hide it, right, in this all these dummies. But if you have so many real ones to send, then you have to do recovery, right, this interval. So and after certain real events happen, then you have to increase that, right? So in that case, it's not an efficient scheme. So what we are thinking about is, for the heavy traffic, in the high rate case, we can actually use a key anonymity scheme, but use our previous technique as the way to generate a notification message. So the idea is, so in the normal case, and this our protocol will be running there, and there will be very low rate. It is only used to notify the base station and say, okay, there's something here. And so you only transmit the first message. So in that case, once the base station receives this notification message from certain location, okay, now you will know, that there's lots of, maybe there's 100 packets to send. In this case, the base station will randomly select the other 99, not the 99, other 10 locations, and ask them to also send 100 packets. Right. So in this way, if all these locations send the same similar pattern, you will not be able to know which one is the real one, which is a bogus one. Right. So in this way, we can achieve this key anonymity property. And also the second issue, we are thinking about is can we provide in the current case, we assume attacker knows our distribution, like exponential distribution, knows the mean. But what if attacker does not know that? Right? So that's very practical. Right? You can, every sensor, you can have different types of distributions. You can randomly choose one to use, or you can mix, different distributions, or you add a noise to the distribution, to the exponential distribution. Right? So in this way, the distribution is very hard to model. So if the attacker does not have this knowledge about this distribution, will we get an additional advantage in this in this game? So these are the kind of questions we also want to answer in our future work. Okay, so that's the end of this talk. Any question?